Hi, I'm Professor Brad Jones, Professor of Political Science at University of California, Davis. I'm also a volunteer driver for the organization Humane Borders, which does humanitarian work in the Arizona-Mexico borderlands region. Here at UC Davis, the women of the Upsilon chapter of Lambda Theta Alpha are engaging in a fundraising project this week to raise money for Humane Borders. And they've asked me to talk a little bit about my experiences with the organization and talk a little bit about what it is that we actually do. And I'll take a few minutes to do that. And so the way Humane Borders operates is we maintain fixed water stations in the Sonoran Desert, which is in Arizona, southern Arizona, right on the Mexico border. We maintain these fixed water stations in order to hopefully prevent needless deaths and needless suffering for migrants attempting to cross through the desert in order to make a better life for themselves, to reunite with their family members, or what have you. And so what we do, and as you see me standing here on the truck that I drive, we take these trucks deep into the desert, filled with water, and we maintain a number of water stations. And so this is the truck from Longview, and this is the truck that I drive, that I'm fortunate and blessed enough to drive. And I drive this truck in the Organ Pipe National Monument, where we maintain about 6 or 7 of these fixed water stations. Now, why do we maintain water stations in the desert? Well, here's why. Over the last 20 years, we're closing in on 4,000 individuals who have died trying to make the crossing. Now, each one of these red dots on here corresponds to an individual, corresponds to a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, an uncle, an aunt, maybe a small child who has died trying to make the crossing. And, and why individuals try to make the crossing? There's a variety of reasons: to reunite with family members, to seek employment, to escape violence, either in Mexico or or Central America. There are a number of reasons why this happens, but they die and they come, and they will die if not uh, given life-saving water. And so as an organization, our sole mission is to maintain water stations in order to prevent the needless suffering and loss of life among migrants trying to make their way through the Sonoran Desert. And one thing that's important to note is that enforcement measures don't prevent needless deaths. And in fact, enforcement measures uh, actually exacerbate the problems. And so no amount of wall, no amount of razor wire, no amount of enforcement on the part of Border Patrol will prevent needless deaths. And so throughout the desert, you will find these crosses that are put out by the artist, Tucson artist Alvaro Enciso, that commemorate the loss of life. And this is just one of those many, many crosses that correspond to one of those red dots on the map. And so as a driver for Humane Borders, my sole goal is to maintain these water stations, to repair water stations if hate groups have attacked them, which does happen quite frequently and has been happening with greater frequency in recent years. But our sole goal is to maintain these water stations in the desert in order to prevent a needless loss of life and needless suffering among the migrants or among migrants' family who may never see them again. And so these are two pictures that were drawn by two children from Guatemala who I encountered or I came to visit at a migrant shelter in Tucson, Arizona. And if you look at these pictures, even if you don't know Spanish, you can see right away that these small children, they couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old, are well aware of the perils associated with making the crossing and the deaths associated with it. And so our sole goal is to prevent this kind of suffering that happens with all too much regularity. And so we try to take something that's very sad and make something hopeful. And so volunteers like these, or like these, or like the thousands and thousands of others who have made the journey down to Southern Arizona, or who live in Southern Arizona that volunteer for Humane Borders, have gone a long way to hopefully preventing the needless loss of life. And so what can you do? Well, as I said at the top of this short little video, the women of Upsilon chapter of Lambda Theta Alpha are raising money. And if you go to the Instagram site that is listed here on this slide, or email this individual here, you can get more information about the fundraiser. But what will this fundraiser do? Well, even a few dollars goes a long way towards helping us maintain our trucks, because we rely on trucks to take water out to the desert. It will allow us to replace water barrels that are either too old to service anymore, or that get damaged. It allows us to maintain our equipment. We're a nonprofit organization. We depend solely on volunteers and volunteer contributions. And so any assistance that you can make would be grateful and would be very, very helpful. And so before I finish this short little testimonial, I want to return to this picture here. And you see this purple cross. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Well, this purple cross belongs to, or corresponds to, one of those red dots. And in particular, the name of the man that cross commemorates is a man named Juan Manuel Sandoval Sandoval. Mr. Sandoval died in June of 2017 trying to make the crossing. He was 46 years old. He was from Veracruz, Mexico. He died about 65 miles north of the border. He died a horrible death. He died a death of exposure. The day he died, or the day he likely died, was probably around 115 to 120 degrees in the desert. And that cross means a lot to me. And I'm going to leave you with this, because the last drink of water that Mr. Sandoval had came from this jug. This was found with his body, with his remains, and then was given to me by a Humane Borders worker who knew that I would appreciate it and knew that I would tell the story of Mr. Sandoval. And every time I talk about my work with Humane Borders, I honor Juan Manuel Sandoval, and I honor this plastic jug of water that is empty, that's crumpled, and know that the last drink of water that he had before he died came from this bottle. And had he come across one of our stations, he probably would be alive to this day. And so getting involved with Humane Borders, and you can get involved by even contributing a few dollars through the fundraiser that Upsilon chapter of Lambda Theta Alpha is engaging in this week, can go a long way. So thank you for watching this, and I hope that you can contribute. Go back to the previous slide if you want to see where you can find more information about this fundraiser. Thank you very much.